I don't hurt. That felt okay. And so I kind of started really slow, and I did it sort of every 2 or 3 days. And then I decided to try to do it every other day and then every day. And then before I knew it, I was just walking down to the corner store and back every day. And one day in September, I thought,
Megan, how did you find Carnivore?
so I found it May of 2020. I was 100 pounds overweight. Of course, we were all in COVID. And my husband and I both decided, okay, we've put a little weight on through this pandemic. We need to lose weight. So he's like, we'll do it together. Okay, sure. Um, his sister-in-law had been on a paleo diet. She had been told she had Hashimoto's, and she went paleo to try to reverse it, and it worked for her. So I got the book, I read it. He's like, his instructions were, you tell me what to eat, and I'll just eat it. I won't argue. You read the book. You tell me what to do, and we'll do it. Okay, fine. So I did. All the leafy green smoothies and all the legumes and pulses were all still in there. And he did great. First couple weeks, he lost 13 pounds. I gained 7. And my IBS was worse than it had ever been in my life. I knew I shouldn't be eating those things, but I thought, oh, maybe I'm the exception on the IBS front. Maybe I can still eat the spinach and the kale and the horrible plants that I never got along with. Maybe this will work somehow. And of course it didn't. So I was done. I'm like, I gotta do something. What do I do? So did what we all do. I went on YouTube, how to lose weight when you can't exercise, because at that point I had very limited mobility. I was in a chair. I had been since 2014 because of the fibromyalgia pain and the chronic inflammation, um, which came after I suffered a disc injury. So I knew I couldn't exercise. I'd spent decades bulimic, so restricting and binging and purging, and I knew it didn't work. So went on YouTube, and I had this aha moment. I remembered my sister-in-law had had some serious psoriasis and arthritis, and she had gone keto a few years back, and it had helped her. So I thought, oh, keto. I remember keto's a thing. Let me look it up. And I found a bunch of Dr. Berry's videos, and I thought, oh, I could do this. Let me try. Let me do this. This might work. All these people say it will work, so let me try it. And I was happy to see the back end of green smoothies and all the beans and lentils, and the hard, I think probably the last hard thing I had to give up was nuts, because you can have some nuts on keto, but I can't do any plants of any kind. I can't. The IBS is just so bad. So I was having my little handful of mixed nuts once a day, and I was doing bacon and eggs and all the things. And then I saw a video of Dr. Berry's, and his video was basically, hey guys, by the way, if you have gut issues, if you have IBS, get rid of the plants, because that's probably what's causing you having to have issues still. And I thought, I can get rid of plants? I don't have to eat these? Oh, okay. A lifetime, right? I'm 52, so probably like yourself, you grew up being told you got to have your 5 to 10 a day, eat lots of veggies, make sure you have fruit, don't forget, nuts and seeds. And so I thought, I'm supposed to eat this. Well, no, that was clearly wrong. So within a couple of days of getting rid of the last of it, I felt so much better. I looked, I mean, I was 225 pounds. Okay. And so I was a good 100 pounds, 45 kilos over my ideal weight. That was more weight than I had put on in either of my pregnancies. So I looked 7 months pregnant. The bloating was just so bad, and mostly, okay, yes, inflammatory foods. The brownies at the coffee shops didn't help, but all of the seeds and nuts and everything just made it worse. All the fiber was killing me. And within 2 days, I think I had my first actual bowel movement in almost a month. That's how bad the IBS was. Yeah, it was awful. It was horrible. And I just remember going, oh my gosh, I went to the bathroom. Yay. And that was just getting all the plant stuff out. And within the first week, I think I lost 7 pounds, which I'd never lost that much weight ever my entire life. And that coming from 30 years of being bulimic, I'd never lost that much weight ever. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And obviously it was probably mostly water weight, but that's okay. It was like, I lost some weight, yay. So I'm going to keep doing this. And I just noticed that as I was getting more weight off, little by little, I started to feel just slightly less inflamed. And so, I mean, I had to give up dairy eventually because I'm lactose intolerant. But I figured I'm the exception. I'll be fine. It's not that bad, I can have coffee with milk. I'll be fine. It's okay. Um, I could have cheese. I'm okay because it's carnivore, so it's okay. But I realized probably a month or two in that actually, no, it's still messing with my gut. Let me get rid of it for a month, see what happens. And so by the end of August, I was down 35 pounds. So I started keto in June, moved to carnivore after 2 weeks. By the end of August, I was down 35, 40 pounds. I wasn't exercising because I couldn't, but that was just all inflammation, just water weight, inflammation, some body fat, of course, but I couldn't believe how much weight and I wasn't even really trying. I was just not eating the garbage. I got rid of the seed oil. I got rid of all the processed sugars, all the refined crap, and all the carbs. And all of a sudden, I was like, this is what I'm supposed to be putting in my body. Oh, wow. Okay. How come I didn't know this before? You know? And I started to get my brain back. Like my brain fog was so bad that a year after, um, finally being told I had fibromyalgia. So in 2015, I was still working at the time. I had been still driving painfully, but I was still driving. I reached the point where it was so bad I had to stop driving. I had to give up my license because of the medications. Couldn't focus properly. I had to stop working because again the brain fog was so bad I couldn't focus at work. I couldn't did a lot of data entry and you need accuracy and I didn't have that. Um, very quickly reached a point of if my kids asked me something, I literally 5 minutes later, I could not remember what they talked to me about. So my short term memory was almost gone. I couldn't remember things. I could watch movies repeatedly, and most of the time, I mean, unless it was Star Wars, because I've seen Star Wars over 40 times. I mean, each of the original three, not the new ones, the original series. So those ones I knew, right? Those ones I knew because I watched them all the time growing up. But anything else, I could easily not watch. And if I left it a couple months, I could rewatch it and not even remember how it ended because I couldn't remember a lot of the movies. They all started to sort of, is this the one where she does that? Or this happens to him? And I'd have to watch it all the way through to go, oh, I have seen this. Oh, okay. Same with books. I could read books over and over again and if I waited a few months in between, it was like reading it for the first time because a lot of times I couldn't quite remember how they ended. So that's where the brain fog was at. But by the end of August, I was like, I could remember conversations and I started to get my short term memory back, which was amazing. So I felt like, oh, there she is. She's back again. I started to feel more like my old self after that time.
Sorry, can I just clarify? Was this when you started? That was June, July of 22,
20
23,
of
20.
2020. Yeah.
Ah, okay. Um, so how is the fibromyalgia now, as far as meds, pain, that kind of thing?
I have been medication free since May of 2023, and I have no more fibro symptoms. So completely reversed, no brain fog, no widespread soft tissue pain at all. from the fibromyalgia, from the inflammation. Like it's gone completely.
Congratulations. I mean,
Thank you.
that must be life-changing.
It was amazing. Actually, it was March last year. I watched a video that Bart K put out, and he was talking. Pim had interviewed him. I think it was on her channel, and talking about pushing through. And he shared his own story of fibromyalgia. And I thought, well, wait a minute, if he had it and he's reversed it, then why can't I? So part of it for me was you sort of, when you're in a condition like that and everyone tells you, oh, it's forever, it'll never go away, it'll never get better, you're stuck with it. You accept that. And you just, in my mind, I was like, I guess I'm always going to have fibromyalgia. All right. And I watched this video, and this was, I think, late February of last year. And I thought, maybe I don't have to have this forever. Because I knew my spinal disc injury was healed, and I still had soreness because I have SI joint dysfunction, which I've had my whole life. So I still have low grade, low back pain, but the actual site of injury from the lumbar disc issue was healed, and the inflammation was down. So a lot of it was in my mind. So part of that is you kind of have to mentally get out of your own way to go, you know, you're not inflamed. And any stiffness is because you haven't walked around in almost 9 years, but that doesn't mean you can't. And so, March last year, I thought, I'm tired of using the wheelchair. I'm tired of having to be pushed everywhere, taking it on holiday, etc. I want to get back. I want to walk. I want to be able to go away with my husband for a weekend and not have to have the chair along. I want to be able to go into the shops by myself without needing the electric chair or someone to push me. And I don't know, in that moment, I was like, it's going to happen. I don't know when. I don't know how it's going to start. I don't know when it's going to happen, but this doesn't have to be where it ends. And I think that was kind of the point where I was like, my mind finally caught up with my body, if you like. So my body was healing, but in my mind, I was still convinced, oh, but I'm still injured. I still have to do this. Meanwhile, I realized, well, actually, no, that isn't necessarily true. But I figured the best way to do that was to see how I would feel if I was to slowly start cutting down on my pain medications. How would I feel? And if there was pain, rebound pain, then okay, I need to heal some more. And if there wasn't, oh, then I'm actually healed, at least from the fibromyalgia and the injury. I'm healed, and therefore I can start to move again. So it kind of did a very, very, very slow weeding down process. And yeah, came off all my medications as of May last year. So no pain meds, no statins, no antidepressants, no thyroid medication, nothing.
And so now you're just walking around just like before any problem arose?
Exactly, exactly. Um, so my tendency, and I had to learn to accept that, and my husband pointed it out, but it's true. I'm sort of all or nothing. It's got to be everything or nothing at all. So when I first started walking, it started just walking um like a few feet. We were on holiday in Canada visiting our younger son because he's moved back there. So we were visiting him, and so going down the drive to the car to get something and back to the house. Hardly any distance. So those were just a few steps. I'm like, oh, that didn't hurt. Okay. I feel good. Being able to walk across the sand at the beach, had my crutch, but I walked. I didn't get pushed around on the uh they have like decking so you can walk across, so people in wheelchairs or whatever can get across the to the public access to the beach. So I walked on that, and I didn't take the chair with me. So just little bits of that. But when we got back, one day I just like had this thought of walk around the block. It's not a long distance. It's a very small, very small block. So I just walked around the block, and I thought, okay, that didn't actually hurt. I feel kind of good. Cool. Let me try that again in a couple of days. So it was more than I'd done in 9 years. So it totally wiped me out. But a couple of days later, I'm going to take another walk just down the hill to the corner store, like a quarter of a mile, if that. And I came back. I'm like, oh, I don't hurt. That felt okay. And so I kind of started really slow, and I did it sort of every 2 or 3 days. And then I decided to try to do it every other day and then every day. And then before I knew it, I was just walking down to the corner store and back every day. And one day in September, I thought, we have two lovely dogs. We have a greyhound and we have a spaniel. And my older son would always walk them. And I thought, it's a nice day. I'm going to walk the dogs. There's just a walking path near the house. Um, I mean, the spaniel can go off lead. He's fine. The greyhound, no, because he won't come back. But I thought, I'm going to take the dogs out and we're just going to do a short little walk just to the field and back, like hardly any distance, maybe 200 meters or something. And I was able to do that without any pain medication. And it didn't hurt and I felt pretty good. And I thought, oh, wow, this is amazing. And so every couple of days, I would take them out just a little further. And then it was every day. So by the end of October, I was taking them out. I kind of built up to about 2 miles most days. And then sometimes my son would take them if I had other things going on. And so that was a great start. And then there was this part of me thinking, well, if I can do 2 miles, why not four or why not six? And so I started trying to push myself. Unfortunately, I felt great. The endorphins were up. The dopamine was good. My leg muscles felt great. But what I failed to take into account is because I have SI joint dysfunction. If I go too far or I push too hard, then I get inflammation. And so all of a sudden I had to stop. So I was doing 6 miles a day. And I thought, this is great. I can do it every single day. And then one day it was just like, but why do I have this low back pain? I mean, I had it my whole life. Every time I did sports, anytime I have to stand for too long, anytime I would go, run after the school bus or run to catch up with somebody, I would have pain. And even though I was told it was there, I just kind of thought, oh, that's because of the fibro. That's all it is. It'll go away. And I realized, no, I need to listen to my body because I'm pushing myself too hard. I don't need to walk 6 miles. I could maybe walk 6 miles, but then I need to take several days to recover. And I wasn't giving myself that. I was just like 6 miles every day, gotta do it for no reason. I'm not training for anything. I'm not doing a fun run. I'm not, none of that. In my mind, I thought, well, I haven't walked for 9 years. Let me make up for last time. And I'm going to do 10 miles every day. And of course, learning later, well, yeah, but I'm putting myself in a stress state. I'm raising my cortisol levels. And it's no wonder that last little bit of fat, the body fat that I'm just trying to get rid of, it's hanging on because I'm pushing myself too hard. Um, and then, you get that whole guilt of, for me anyways, well, I only did 3 miles today. Oh my gosh, I didn't do six. This is awful. I feel so bad. Meanwhile, it's like, dude, you haven't walked for almost 9 years. Like, you walked 3 miles. You feel good. Any further than that, and you start to get sore. Stop, you know? Um, so like we'll go to gigs. Like we have some really good local like heavy metal bands around here. And so my husband and I will go with our son and we'll check out local bands. And I realized I can stand for a good 30 minutes and I feel great. And then I started to feel bad because after that it starts to really, really, really hurt. And for whatever reason, I didn't connect. Whether you're standing, whether you're walking, any strength for me, anyways, because of the joint dysfunction, any amount of standing too long or walking too much or high impact contact sports, pain. So I was like, oh my gosh, I can't go to the gig because I have to stand for 3 hours. It's gonna hurt. It's not fair. And my husband's like, well, they have chairs at the side. Why don't you sit down? But I'm supposed to stand. Well, says who? Oh, right. Nobody. Just me. Me to me, which yeah, I'm not always the best reasoning soundboard to myself at times. But yeah, so that was life changing though. So we can go to a gig and um I don't have to sit in the wheelchair section. I can sit in a regular seat. Or, like we saw Iron Maiden last July, and it was amazing. And we sat in just regular seats. It was great. Um, and I was able to do that for a longer stretch than I could do before. Or we're a 5-minute walk from town center. So if I want to go out and grab myself a coffee, go out for lunch, run errands, I can just get up and go. I don't have to get out the electric wheelchair. I don't have to figure, do I have enough space in the backpack for the shopping? And none of that. It's just I can get out and live life, which is just amazing. It's great. So
That's
totally
that's
life changing.
awesome.
Yeah.
So to get to this point, how have you been eating day to day?
So it's changed slightly since I started. When I first started, it was breakfast was always bacon and eggs, which is always a good shout out, I think. Um, I love bacon. I love eggs. What I've discovered over the years, however, is that for whatever reason, I think because I have a lactose intolerance, I also have a hard time with egg whites. So I've had to change that to eating just the yolks, which is not the end of the world. That's where all the good stuff is, anyways. Um, and what I've discovered is that as much as I love bacon, unless it's the bacon we get from our local butcher because they don't smoke it or cure it, if it's store bought, I react to smoked and cured meats. So I can't do deli meats. I can't do bacon at all, unfortunately, unless we've been to the butcher's because it causes my rosacea to flare up. So I don't do bacon in the morning. Um, but I'll do like I'll dice up some chicken breast and I'll cook that in the pan with lots and lots of butter and egg yolks. And that's breakfast. Lunch, if I'm hungry, is usually sausage, just a couple of plain sausages, um, or not if I'm not feeling hungry. And dinner is almost always 20% fat ground beef with egg yolks and a little bit of salt to taste. That's generally what I eat every single day. And my husband goes, "Aren't you bored?" I'm like, "That's what I want. That's what I like to eat." So when we go to the butcher's, the majority of what we get is stuff that they like. So ribs and like the butcher's is amazing. So they do barbecue flavored baby back ribs, but they use spices. They don't put sauce on it, so there's no sugar. So they like that, but I have an issue with the spices. So I'm like, that's fine. You guys have it. You know, um, they'll get we'll get sirloin from there. So I will sometimes have the sirloin or the ribeye if I can get my husband to fire up the barbecue. Um, because it doesn't taste. I can cook it fine, but it just never tastes quite as. It's always I find steak tastes better if someone else cooks it for me. That's just me. Um, but so he's keto, so he'll do steak and then he'll do like mushrooms on the side for himself. And our son's more keto as well. But I will have steak on occasion. Sometimes I'll get lamb, although it's not my favorite. I don't mind it, but for me it's always ground beef, eggs or egg yolks, a bit of salt. Sometimes I'll add in some chicken breast with it. Sometimes I'll add in a bit of sausage with it. If we do takeout, I'll do, we have a place here called German Doner Kebab. So you can order a box with just the doner meat. Or we have lots of kebab shops here in the UK, but there's another one down the street that you can get just the kebab meat. So I'll order that if I don't want to cook on a Friday. But yeah, generally speaking, it's ground beef with salt and egg yolks. That's it for the most part.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the comment from your husband about don't you get bored? I
Mm,
mean, I think most people that have been on carnivore for an extended period of time would understand the feeling of not getting bored, right? You could eat the same thing pretty much every day,
yeah.
and by the time you finished eating it, it's you're over it. But by the next time you're about to eat it, you're really anticipating that, right?
Exactly. I think part of it is, for one, for me, I find it freeing because after a lifetime of what feels like a lifetime of bulimia, of if I eat this, how do I get it out of me? Like how do I counteract? So I ate this cookie. So do I not eat for 3 days? Like how do I balance it out? And counting calories and just a constant, if I have this, then what do I do to get rid of it type feeling. And I know what I'm eating. For me, like, and I had when my husband said, I want to get on board. I don't know if I can do full carnivore because I like having some vegetables with my meat. Fine. Um, I was ecstatic because all of a sudden I don't have to worry about making rice and side dishes and salads. And it's really basic. We go to the butcher's once a month, they load up the freezer, and the only thing they don't do is the fattier cuts of ground beef, of beef mince, they only do 10%, which is for most butchers. That's fine. I get it from the supermarket. So when I go to the grocery store in town, it's so easy. Eggs, butter, beef. That's and bacon if we run out for my husband. So that's it. Those are my go-to carnivore grocery shop items: beef, butter, bacon. Um, and eggs, and then milk when we run out. I don't drink it, but my husband likes it in his coffee, and so does my son. So it simplifies life. And I found the more choices I had pre carnivore, the more anxious I would get around food. I had so many things. Oh, I could have the cookie, but then there's the brownie. But what if? Oh, but then I can't eat lunch. Oh, but then I can't have dinner later. Oh, but then I have to account for this somehow in my daily intake and output. And yeah, it was just insanity.
And we all experience that kind of thing all through our lives. And it's just such a waste of time and energy and stress on your body thinking about that stuff all the time, right?
Yeah. Oh, it is. It is. And I love this way of eating. One of the biggest, I mean, other than obviously the health, physical healing, but helping me with I used to have crippling anxiety and depression on top of the eating disorder. And what I love so much about this way of eating is that I finally reached a point where it's okay. Like if I'm not eating, it's because I'm legitimately not hungry. Where if I'm eating, it's because I actually need fuel in my body. And I've actually been able to, I think for the first time in my life, actually recognize true hunger and what it feels like to be satiated. And like I'll say to my clients, food is supposed to nourish us, it's not meant to be entertaining. I'll hear people saying, "Oh, I don't know, the cake doesn't look very nice," or that salad doesn't look like it's going to be all that good. It doesn't excite me, and I'm thinking, well, it's food. It's not supposed to excite you. It's supposed to fuel your body with energy. That's the point of it. So maybe you want to get that from something else. Just a thought. But yeah, it's just so freeing to go, I'm eating the things I'm supposed to, and it's healing me, and that's all it's supposed to do, really. So, you know,
When you talk about someone saying, "Oh, the salad doesn't look so nice," or "The cake could look nicer than that," it just makes me it reinforces the feeling I have that as a species, we've really messed things up.
oh,
There's no animal out there going, "Cat food again?" It's
yeah, yeah, exactly. The antelope going, I really wanted to have kale in my salad today. I don't think I'm going to have the grass this morning. Thank you. Right? Exactly. Because we think we know better. Like me with eating, knowing that eating nuts is, even way back in 2007 when I was diagnosed with IBS, and I was told by the gastroenterologist, you should avoid nuts and seeds. Try legumes, the whole fiber thing for the IBS, but avoid nuts and seeds because those will aggravate your gut. And I thought, no, the exception, I can eat them. I can eat them, but they're not doing me any good. As I tell people, I do miss vegetables. I wish sometimes Sometimes, not really. But I miss being able to have, broccoli with cheese over it or some sauteed mushrooms with a piece of steak. I'm not willing to have them because I know it's just consequences are not worth it at all. But as I tell people, it's like, well, do you not like vegetables? No, no, I loved vegetables, but they don't love me back. They hate me. So I don't eat them because they're not doing, they never did me any favors ever. Um, and some people will say, oh, but I still want a few. Okay, well, make sure they're the low carb fine. Don't eat the starchy ones. Those are horrible. If you insist on vegetables, do this. And that's fine. That works for them. Fine. That works for them. I said, however, you've also complained about having gas, having gut issues, etc., etc. Yeah, plants are not helping you. Just you don't need them. You don't. Just get rid of them. You know. But that's yeah. I just remember growing up. Like I remember as a kid, I don't really remember having seen butter in our fridge, but I remember my mom talking to one of her friends who was a neighbor, saying, "Oh yeah, margarine. It's really good for us, and so that's what we have." And I just remember them talking about it was Blue Bonnet was the brand, and it was the early '80s, and so of course at that point, oh, saturated fats, don't eat them. They're terrible for you. Switch to margarine, and I remember early on seeing a video by Dr. David Fung, and he talked about how margarine was actually made from leftover seed oils that they use to light lamps in the States. And I just thought, wow, no, no, thank you. Never again, never again. And it's just, you think there's so many things that you look at and go, wow,
Mm.
really?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're just so naive to what was really going on, you know? Like, I remember thinking, I don't want that butter because it's so hard to spread. It breaks
yeah,
my
yeah.
bread when I put
It's
it on
your
there. You know,
part.
the margarine spreads so easily. It's like, it comes out on the knife like putting shoe polish on your bread. It's awesome.
Yeah,
It's so smooth. It's
I think that was as well, actually. Oh, it spreads easily. It doesn't mean it's good for you. Basically, you're eating shoe polish, essentially, or similar chemicals, what would be made into shoe polish. Like, yeah, like this Crisco, or not Crisco, Pam, the spray oil. Oh, yeah, it's fine. But don't inhale the fumes, but it's okay to put in your food.
Mm.
It's like,
Yeah. I remember being a kid,
mm,
and there was always this thing, if you're in the kitchen and you cooked something, your mum would always say, "Don't pour that fat down the sink because it'll block the sink." Because we're
yeah,
cooking in saturated fat. We're cooking in lard or something like that, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And then all of a sudden there was this change and we had the spray or we were using it out of the bottle and suddenly no one cared about the sink getting blocked anymore because we were using engine lubricant instead.
yeah. I remember that too. I remember. Um, I just remember my mom. She used to make this amazing, I mean, not amazing for you, but amazing tasting, this rhubarb strawberry custard pie. And she would use butter for the pastry. But I remember my dad had a heart attack when he was, I think he was about 40, 45, fairly young. History of other stuff though. So in order to follow the healthy heart guide that he was given at the hospital, she tried making pie crust with margarine. And let me just say, no, did not work. The crust was not flaky. It was like hard as a rock. I mean, we all kind of teased her about it. She's like, "Oh, mom, oh my gosh!" Like, bang, pretending to bang it on the table. It's like, listen to that, and she's like, "Well, I'm trying." And I think in the end, we left the crust. We ate the filling because you couldn't cut through the crust because it just hardened because of the margarine. And I'm just thinking, yeah, that kind of says it all about margarine right there, like how we shouldn't be eating it and you can't really bake with it. Not that we should be necessarily baking things anyways, but it always stood out to me. And when I learned the fact, going through this journey of, well, actually, no, saturated fats are essential. We need them. We need to make the cholesterol. We need them for the hormones. I mean, my thyroid has repaired and healed itself, not because I was taking thyroid replacement hormones, because they had zero effect. It was when I started getting back to saturated fats and eating the butter and all the good stuff, that's when my thyroid started to heal. And it just made it clear to me that, there's proof positive that, in fact, the margarine, no fat, low fat, all the plants, starchy carbs, they're good for us. No, they're not. Right. But, I don't know. It's kind of like we're living in the matrix. And some people want the blue pill. They don't want to know the truth. They want to. They're happier. They want to stay in ignorance. They would rather have the pill, and eat what they feel like. And obviously, that's their choice. But it's kind of, to me, it worries me because I'm like, I've taken the red pill. I'm glad I did. But now when you look back and see, wow, how could we as humans get all of this so very wrong? And as much as we're trying to help people see, look, we're in a matrix. Take the red pill. Trust me, you'll feel better. Oh, I just thought of this. The red pill, the meat. Have the meat. That's the red pill. You'll feel better. Um, you know,
The issue I think with, people not wanting to take the red pill is that even though you can say to them, "Take the red pill, you're gonna feel better than you
mhm,
do now. You're gonna clear up all your chronic diseases." But to do that, to take that step, they've gotta put themselves into a lot of discomfort
yeah.
because 'cause they've gotta say, "I everything I believed is not true."
Hmm.
And they've got to wrestle with that, and they've also got to wrestle with what is everyone else around me going to think about this, and it's just ends up, I think it becomes too uncomfortable for a lot of people.
I agree. And it's unfortunate because I think if we think about it as a species, everything we do is because we want to feel comfortable, which is not necessarily wrong or bad. It's just that's how we developed cars. That's how we developed airline travel as opposed to 6 weeks on a boat to get between continents, right? So I'm thankful for that advance, but also I can understand if you're already, especially if you're already suffering with an autoimmune condition or chronic inflammation or consistent and acute pain, you're already in that place of you were feeling as uncomfortable as possible. And the thought of potentially more discomfort, forget it. Because I mean, I was there for a long time. My sister-in-law did keto 5 years before I was willing to consider it as a possible option because I was so set in my mind. Nope, I'm always going to be in pain. I'm always going to have to take the pills. I'm always going to have fibromyalgia because the doctor said, and that's it. And nobody can tell me different. It wasn't until my weight really ballooned and I was like, that's it. I am now at a point of desperation. I cannot be like this anymore. Something has to change. And that's when I was ready to say, maybe there's something to this keto that she does. Because she was always very thin and I'd always struggled with my weight. And so I thought, well, that's great. She's thin. She had no problems. So of course it worked. And after cycles of binging and purging and restricting and trying every fad diet and pill and shake under the sun, you kind of reach a point of it's not going to work because nothing else works. So this won't work until I got desperate enough to go, I'm not willing to stay here anymore. And I think that's a big part of it is we want an easier way because especially if we are already dealing with hard things in life, we don't want to make everything difficult. And yet it's I tell people, look, the first 2 weeks you're going to feel like crap. You will, guaranteed. Especially if you have to cut out all the plants. If you ease it, if you don't have gut issues and you can ease into it, it won't be as bad. I said, but if you're like me and you have to get them out, you're going to feel terrible because you're going to have withdrawal from the carbs and the sugar and the garbage. You will. And they're like, no, 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 I won't be. No, you will. But it is worth it. It's completely worth it because you will feel better. And some people listen. Thankfully, my husband is one of them. He's like, all right, I'm going to do it. He's like, the first few days is like, oh, I feel like garbage. I'm like, I know, but it gets better. Keep going. I just want to have it. Nope, don't. It's not worth it. Keep going. And then once he got through the first week or so, he's like, hey, I feel better. I'm like, and are you glad you kept going? Yes. There we go. But most people aren't wanting to do that. So it's unfortunate.
Yeah. So, Megan, how can people reach out to you? And can you tell us a little bit about the coaching that you do?
Oh, of course. Yeah. So my website is www.healingfoodscoach.com. And I do offer one-to-one coaching sessions. So I'm working with people who want to either try low carb, keto, or carnivore. So I understand that not everybody's ready to jump fully into a plant-free diet, and that's okay because I know there are so many people out there who are low carb or keto who've had a lot of success. They've lost weight, they've had a lot of healing. And so I don't want people to feel just because I'm carnivore, that means they have to be carnivore. However, they very much may find that that gives them the best health outcomes, just because plants do plants do incur some level of inflammation, even if it's relatively minor for certain people. Um, I'm also, of course, here on YouTube at Meghan the Healing Foods Coach, so I make regular content. But yeah, people can reach out to me if they want some one-to-one support. I basically do a 2 hour initial consultation so I can get full medical history, weight, any health conditions, any medications they're on, get a sense from them, what do they want to achieve? Because I know what I'm doing, but not everyone's me. And so this way it can be an actual tailored approach as opposed to just eat meat, eat the fat, you'll be fine. I like to work with people where they're at. So, and also you don't have to be mobile. You do not have to be moving when you start this protocol. You don't. You can lose weight and heal even if you have limited mobility, because I did. And then the mobility comes later. So they don't have to feel like, but I don't walk yet, or I'm on crutches, or I can't go to the gym. That's fine. You will still be able to have healing and you'll still be able to feel better just changing your diet. And then when you feel better, you'll want to move more. And then we go from there. So, yeah.
Very nice. So I'll link to all your website and your YouTube and so forth below. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story, Megan. I really appreciate your time.
Oh, thank you so much. It was so much fun. I'm glad we got to do this.